Hello friends, welcome back to Daily Movie Recaps. A new movie recapped, every single day. Today, we will recap an American drama film, Flight, released in 2012. Spoilers up ahead, so watch out. Enjoy the recap. At the beginning of this movie, we see a plane flying high up in the sky. Next, the pilot of the plane, Whip Whitaker, wakes up with his flight attendant Katerina. Later, he is seen fighting with his ex-wife over the phone, talking about tuition fees for their child. He continuously cusses at his ex-wife over the phone. After that, he snorts a line and smokes, before getting ready for the next flight. In the next scene, we witness dark, stormy and rainy weather, where the pilot, Whip, approaches for the next flight. He has a quick chat with another flight attendant, Margaret, and meets his co-pilot, Ken Evans. Evans is a little bit concerned about Whip's behavior, as he is acting weird. As soon as Whip announces that they are ready to go, we are cut to another scene where a woman, named Nicole, is sneaking out of a door with a huge red bag. She puts the bag inside her car and drives to meet a man named Kip. Kip is seen there shooting for an adult content series. He tries to convince Nicole to do a role in the series, but she refuses and continuously asks him for narcotics, and tells him that she is not clean yet, and is in need of it. Elsewhere, Whip and Evans take off the flight, despite the weather being bad. Whip takes over the control system. He flies the plane so fiercely, that pilot Evans gets scared. After continuously speeding the plane, all passengers inside start panicking, but in the end, the plane passes over the area of bad weather, and reaches the clear blue sky, where pilot Whip hands over the control to Evans. Later, Whip talks to the passengers, and apologizes for the inconvenient start of the flight, assuring that there will be no trouble during the whole journey, and they will land safely after 40 minutes. As he is talking with the passengers, he manages to pour some alcohol into the bottle of juice, and starts drinking it. After that, we see Nicole taking narcotics with the needle. She looks really frustrated, and doesn't have control over it. Suddenly, she loses sight due to an overdose, and falls on the floor. On the flight, Whip has also fallen asleep on the pilot's seat. He complains about how he is flying the plane alone for the last 26 minutes, due to the carelessness of Whip. Suddenly, the engine stops working properly, and Evans loses control over the plane. Due to the turbulence, Whip finally wakes up. He immediately orders Margaret to announce to the passengers not to panic, and tighten their seatbelts. While both of the pilots are trying to take control over the plane's engine, they find that the hydraulic has stopped working, and the stabilizers are jammed. Captain Whip is continuously talking to the emergency unit. He is asking for help, because he has lost control, and the plane is continuously moving downwards. A forceful jerk makes one of the stewardesses hit her head, and fall unconscious. Whip tries to take control of the situation by turning the plane upside down. Everyone on the plane gets terrified. People are crying and praying, except for the pilot Whip, who seems very calm. He does whatever he can, but the engine stops working, and they hit the top of a church, after which they forcefully land on a barren area. In the next scene, we see blood everywhere. The locals are trying to bring everyone out of the plane. Many are injured, and some of them are dead. Pilot Whip wakes up in a hospital, and sees his friend Charlie waiting for him inside the room. The police also arrive, and inform him that 2 of the flight attendants died with 4 passengers, and many of them are injured. However, his friend Charlie and the police officer thank Whip for saving many passengers from dying, because the plane was out of control, and the way he landed the plane was nothing short of a miracle. In the next scene, we see a fat and funny man entering the hospital, and reaching towards Whip. He introduces himself to the nurse as Harley Mays. Mays meets Whip, and shows him that the public is waiting outside the hospital to praise him, because he has performed a miracle. He shows him the video of people talking about him in the media, and also that he went viral as the hero pilot. Looking for a place to smoke, Whip goes to the stairs where he meets Nicole. She tries to get away, but he consoles her to stay there, and smoke together. As they are talking, a cancer patient named Mark comes there. He joins them for smoking, and asks the pilot about the plane crash. The patient continuously chats about God's plans. He tells them whatever is going to happen will happen at any cost, and there is no way of stopping anything. Likewise, the plane was meant to be crashed, so it crashed, and the 3 of them were meant to meet, so they met. After Mark goes downstairs, Nicole also gets up, but Whip tells her that he would like to meet her, after they are released from the hospital. Nicole agrees, and gives him her address. In the next scene, we see the pilot being released from the hospital. Whip and his friend Mays get out of the hospital from the back door to avoid press at the front of the hospital, because Whip isn't ready to face them. His friend Mays takes him to an old farmhouse, because the pilot's home is also surrounded by media. As soon as they reach the farmhouse, Whip starts cleaning and throwing away the alcohol and the useless medicines that remained there for years. He also finds a packet of herbs, which he flushes in the toilet because he wants to sober up. One evening as he is watching TV, he receives a call from his friend Charlie, who asks to meet him after a medical checkup, which is in a few days. After some days, Whip reaches the place to meet Charlie and a lawyer, named Hugh Lang, who is from Chicago. He is sent there on behalf of the pilot union to discuss the plane crash and the crash site. He says that investigation revealed that there was a high volume of alcohol in Whip's blood during the crash. Not only this, narcotics were found in his blood too. The lawyer then reveals that if the theory is proven, Whip may lose his pilot's license. A depressed Whip later goes to a liquor shop, where he buys alcohol, and starts drinking again. After that, we see him searching for Nicole's address, the girl that he met at the hospital. He finds out that Nicole is being abused, because she is not able to pay her rent. Hence, he decides to silence the landlord by paying the rent himself. Nicole tells him that she doesn't have anywhere to go, so Whip takes her to his house, and she starts staying there. In the next scene, we see Whip wondering about his reputation. He wonders that if he stays on the ground like this forever, then the people outside will throw mud on his reputation, and his career will be destroyed. Hence, he thinks about going out and talking to the media again. He meets Margaret, who tells him that she knew he was drunk on the day the plane crashed, and she will tell the media about that. Hearing this, Whip emotionally tells her that if it weren't for him, she would be long dead. Later, Whip is seen meeting Evans in the hospital. Evans tells him that he hasn't told the police about anything, because he believes that he is alive today because of Whip. After that, Whip goes home, and has a small talk with Nicole. She tells him that she got a job, and is trying to quit alcohol, for which she has joined the alcohol quitting community. She then asks Whip to join her too. However, Whip tells her that he doesn't have time for that, and refuses it. Unfortunately, they have a small fight where Whip shouts at Nicole, and she leaves his house. Due to Nicole's departure, Whip loses control over his drinking, and becomes an alcoholic again. After this scene, we see the media has surrounded his farmhouse too. He has nowhere to go, and drives off to his ex-wife and son. They know that he is drunk, and don't want him at their place. As soon as he steps out, the media surrounds him. He somehow manages to get away, after giving vague answers to their questions. Then, his friend Charlie and the lawyer Hugh tell him that he is disappointing them by his behavior, and it could lead to bad results. They get into a small fight there, but it ends well, with Whip accepting his mistakes. They are trying to save Whip, but he is making it difficult by drinking. For the next 8 days, Charlie keeps Whip with himself. Hugh has managed to have Whip's alcohol test thrown out on a technicality, but they still need to have Whip present his side of the story to Ellen Block, the investigator for the NTSB. One day before the hearing, Whip is taken to a hotel room, where all traces of alcohol have been cleaned out, and a guard is kept there to take care of him. Whip is trying to relax, but he is not able to because of his drinking habit. He doesn't even look at the documents that the lawyer has provided him. Searching for alcohol, suddenly, he sees an opening to an extra room that has all of the liquor he needs. Despite trying to control himself, he is unsuccessful, and he consumes the maximum amount of alcohol he can. Following this, he becomes unconscious in the bathroom. The next day, when his friend Charlie and the lawyer go to meet him, Whip is still passed out. He does not have any control over his body, so they call his friend who gives him narcotics to keep him stable. At the hearing, no one suspects Whip, as he is steady and normal. Block tells him that it was the dysfunction of the plane, and not Whip's fault. She also tells, they found 2 bottles of alcohol on the plane that only the staff had access to, and didn't know to whom it belonged. They then start discussing flight attendant Katerina's narcotics and alcohol history, suggesting that she might have been responsible for it. But then Whip confesses that he was the one who was drunk. He tells her he is still drunk, and has taken narcotics just before the hearing. In the following scene, we see Whip in prison. He is incarcerated for 13 months. He has left the habit of alcohol. He realizes all his mistakes, and has made his relationship with his ex-wife and son better. Later, Whip meets his son in the prison, where his son asks about him and his life. He refers to Whip as the most fascinating person he has ever seen, and takes his interview for his college essay. In the last scene, we can see pilot Whip smiling at his son, and the story eventually ends. Please leave a like or comment to let us know which movie you would like to watch next. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications. This way you'll never miss any movie recap again. Thanks for watching, and stay safe.